Today on Fail to Learn, I'm going to cover a topic I know very well, taping. Alright, if you're here to find out if you can put compound straight onto a brick wall, yes, but there are some things to note. One, this is an interior wall. It doesn't face the exterior where the soil is going to bring in the moisture. And two, if you just go like this, it's going to flake off and pieces will fall off. This will not stay forever like this. You have to take a mesh, a screen, and put that on. That will turn the whole assembly into a one gigantic piece. I mean, you obviously need to do the whole wall with it. That way the holding properties of the compound will hold it as one solid rock, piece of sheetrock. Alright, one of the first things I have to do is prep this. I gotta remove these boards. I'm just gonna skip that part. I do not need to clean this. It's gonna just pull in all the dirt and mix it in with the mud anyway. So even though it's full of spider webs, I'm just gonna go forward. Anyway, spider webs are sticky. They'll add that extra tensile strength to it.
Funny thing is, I was wearing that mic hoping to give pro tips as I was doing this, but it really just got in the way. And it's really hard for me to think of what to say as I'm actually working. So I'm just going to voice over here. The reason why you might want this technique done opposed to just slapping a sheetrock piece on is that if there's like trim work for like a doorway or something, you can't simply put sheetrock on that wall because it'll be too built out. This has almost no build out. It's almost as flat as the highest point of the brick is. And yes, it can be extremely expensive opposed to just putting up sheetrock. Like a 1/4 inch would have been great for this. I've done this technique so far on many different applications like chimneys that are brick faced chimneys. I've done it for interior like exits, like the main exit to a house might be brick. And there are plenty of applications where you just need to put a skim coat onto a brick wall. And that's what I'm trying to show it can be done here. Now this is pretty much just a rinse and repeat for the bottom half of this project, so I'm just going to skip over me doing this bottom part.
Another quite simple tactic for finishing brickwork is to simply take your sheetrock, place mud in the corners, and just slap it into place. Now it's resting on the steps, so once that dries, it'll never come down. Obviously that's a little quicker than that, but you know. Oh, I cut that piece by accident in the rush of doing this. I just wanted to use it as like a counterweight, so it would pull the mesh back, but that was my piece for here, and I wasn't paying attention. I'll have to make a new one. See, there's the back side of the piece. I just slapped it up there. It pulls the screen towards this direction. It's been 24 hours, and despite that, it's still curing. You can see it's still dark in places. I put my hand through this accidentally in the morning. But it's really cold. Hasn't cured yet. I did not do this face. I did this surface and this surface. I'll do this surface when everything's cured.
I'm not going to do any sanding after this coat. I'm just going to use my trowel like that to knock the high spots off. And then I'm going to flip my trowel and actually scrape it like this to get rid of the ridges. And that'll be as good as sanding. Here, you have to cut free all the bubbled mesh parts. For whatever reason, if there's like a curl or a bubble, you got to cut those free. There's no way to actually sand through that stuff, so you have to cut it free. And here I'm just going to make a relief cut. I'm not going to actually remove this part, just a little relief so it can lie down flat when I put mud on it. After every coat, you have to scrape the corners like this to remove all the big chunks. When working with really bad corners, you have to let the mud overhang the face. That way you can just chisel it like so and actually make a corner for yourself, because these bricks don't have an actual natural corner to them. Okay, this is going to be the last time you see me reach into the mud bucket and knead the mud with my trowels, because I'm trying a new editing technique here where I just, instead of hitting like a ×2 or something, I'm just going to cut out the mud kneading part and reach into the bucket parts. And any part out of shot, I'm going to skip over that too.
It's built out here so I can have, when I chisel this away, I can have a structure, because the brick was pretty much missing here. Oops, my finger's down here. I'm going to clean this up with my trowel, and it'll leave me with an edge. I think I already showed you guys. I cleaned this up, because you can see how, like, this, I should have filled this better, but you'll see here. I'm gonna place my phone down.
Going to use a 90-minute set compound to fill in this, because this is going to be really thick. So it's going to take a lot of time to dry if I don't use this quick set. Take a look at this mess. It's fine though. Don't worry about the mess, it's going to be fine. You can see all the grid work from the mesh. It's actually lower where you see that, which is weird because you would think it would be built out, not lower. But it's all going to get sanded. I don't care about the grit. See, we're just going to sand it light like that. Nothing excessive. Despite having a really thick first coat and a thick second coat, I still have bricks that show. And now I sanded this extremely lightly. You can still see all the grooves and scratches, but you can see I hit brick. Of course it gets worse up here. this is the worst one of all. I did a light sanding to avoid ruffling up the mesh, but I still hit the mesh in places. My second coat was not that thick, but I could see now I'm going to need a fourth coat. I was expecting a fourth coat anyway. I'm not sure how well this is showing up, but as you can see, the trowel is just using is damaged. The edges of this are pretty bad. Not only that, the mud I was using froze, had little chunks in it because it was really old and the rim was never properly cleaned. And the bricks were protruding quite a bit. So that's all the excuses I have to make, why my wall looks like this. But now that I'm going on to a third coat, I have a bigger trowel by 2 inches. And the edge is actually a new edge on this. The mud is new, if you can see it. So I should have no excuse for this wall to look like this after this next coat.
Alright, I'm going to continue on with the new editing technique. I'm going to edit out the parts that are out of shot when I dig into the mud bucket. And I'm also going to couple it up with a ×2 factor this time. See how it looks.
Another very light sanding. Okay, now we're on to our final coat. Should be at least. Now, I'm going to put this on as thin as possible. Just remove it so there's almost nothing left. In fact, that's the whole point of this. You're not really trying to deposit any mud. This mud is still wet and it'll reactivate the mud below it. So when you go like this, it'll remove all the defects. Why is it leaving scratches? Alright, I gotta clean my trowel. I'm gonna go start it up. Yeah, my good trial left with big scratches. See? They're everywheres. The wall looks amazing. If it wouldn't be for my trial with the scratches, I wouldn't probably even sand it right now. Very light sanding. I'm gonna have to do it again. This wall is dang near perfect. I mean, there's still that up here to go. It never dried. The wall's perfect. It has a nice gentle rolling nature to it. I don't know if I can, don't think the camera's ever gonna pick that up. But unlike sheetrock that's perfectly flat, believe it or not, people actually like the look. A lot better than brick. There are, of course, if you go like this, you can pull out whatever, see, you know, nothing really. If you can't feel it with your fingers, it doesn't exist. Doing this with the light can cast a shadow 15 times bigger than the actual defect. See? Normal lighting from above would never ever show any of that. And especially with the paint going on. I like to boast one more time about how perfectly smooth my wall is. What you're looking at there is the sanding scratch marks of my sandpaper. I mean, it is an amazingly smooth wall. And that goes for pretty much everywhere on this wall. Even my step treads. I am such an amazing worker. So amazing. But I like to give a standard of reference here. See, this is a painted wall. My wall is smoother than this. And this is just sheetrock painted. That's how smooth my wall is. As you can see, I made an edge on this brick, even though there's mortar joints everywhere, and getting an edge like this is hard to do. And it's wavy. Can I capture that waviness? Yeah, see? People love that stuff. Same with this side. Put an edge on it. The bricks were worn away and they didn't have their own edge. This is me that had to make this edge. It's still wavy, so you got wavy and a sharp edge. Kind of a weird contradiction, but some people like this style of work. If you were to build a sheetrock wall in a historical home, they might yell at you. It's what they would like to refer to it as, a warm feeling, opposed to a perfectly flat sheetrock wall. Because a perfectly flat sheetrock wall in a historical home doesn't fit in. But this is how it used to look. And if I was to do this side, I would have to remove like these big pieces with a hammer. Probably get this down a little bit with a hammer if I did this side. But this is pretty much how that side used to look. Now it looks like this. The work of a god. Kidding, by the way. I did notice there is a little rippling here. I thought it was from me being shaky with my trowel, but you can actually see it's right here. I got brick, and it hit the brick again here and here, and it's like a pull it across. You'll see it's the motor joint. See, and it's just the motor right there was really bad, and the angle I held my trowel. That's what the exact angle of these. I could run my trowel down instead of going this way to get rid of it, but I actually kind of like it. Okay, let's summarize this video. I actually got all this on recording. I was shocked it only took me an hour and a half. I did this up here off camera because I couldn't get the camera up there and it wouldn't show from down there, so I did that off camera, so I could say about 2 hours this job took me. It took over the course of 4 days, 2 days just to let the first coat here dry. So 4 days, about a spread of 2 hours. I mean, I did a lot of background stuff with the camera and stuff. I don't want to count that. I can't bid a job like this off of my hours because I'm a lot quicker than most people. I used to work with my father who would bid jobs, so our goal was to get jobs done fast and make money when you get it done sooner. So maybe we don't want to quote them for only doing this for taking 3 hours. It'll probably take longer. I actually spent most of my time on the stair treads. They just naturally will take longer to get right. If I choose, I might finish all that. Next time you see this wall, it's going to be painted. Want to find out what color? And if you found this video helpful, like it,